Hey yo, what is going on, viewers of the tube? If you don't know by now, my name is Tyler, and you're stepping foot into the crypto channel that tries to bring balance to an industry that has a strong pull to the dark side.
It was said that you would destroy this shit, not join them! Bring balance to the force, not leave it in darkness!
You know the force. It's time for Chico Crypto. Well, the battle of manipulators is at a standstill as Bitcoin yesterday tested going above 9,400, but got rejected and is settling into the $9,300 range. But overall, the 7-day chart is bullish as it has been a steady increase, hitting higher highs with each push up. 9,350 on October 31st, 9,375 on November 2nd, and finally 9,488 on the 4th. And remember from yesterday's video, there is a CME Gap that hasn't been filled, which is only a couple thousand away at 11,800, much closer than where the bears think we will go, as we can't forget the AngeloBTC tweet, patiently waiting for the 6K levels, who was spot on with a call earlier in the year, saying BTC would dip from 10K to 8K. So what are the arguments for a bullish push and what are the arguments for Angelo's scenario to come true? Well, let's begin with the price moving on up.
Well, we're moving on up.
Besides the bullish push this past week, Bitcoin volatility is showing signs that something big is coming. The volatility has picked up this month after hitting a 5.5-month low in late September. Pulling up this chart with 30-day and 60-day volatility, as well as the price, is obvious to see after a volatility crash, a big price move comes. And throughout this year, it has been moving on up. And just as volatility starts to bubble, bullish movements began on-chain regarding transfers. There was a wave of higher value transactions between 10K to 100K that all came through at the same time. It's hard to say exactly who it was without doing blockchain analysis, but it points to private investors, most likely part of a hedge fund, making large purchases, most likely OTC for their fund and clients. The trigger for Bitcoin to return to its normal state of intense volatility is the macroeconomic events, like Facebook's congressional hearing.
I have a few more things to say, but for the richest man in the world to come here and hide behind the poorest people in the world and say that's who you're really trying to help. You're trying to help those for whom the dollar is not a good currency. Drug dealers, terrorists, tax evaders.
Even though that wasn't good for Zuckerberg, it was still bullish for Bitcoin. And then China's president, Xi Jinping, aka Pooh Bear, announces full support for blockchain technology.
He said it's essential to promote related research and core technologies to give China an edge in the sector.
Which of course, the markets took as bullish. And China kept the good news pouring in since, even yesterday when China's National Development and Reform Commission removed Bitcoin from plans of industries that should be eliminated from China, reaffirming them as a dominant mining player. But like I have been trying to get the point across for some time, there is a hidden shadow macroeconomic factor, Tether USDT, which has major influence. People just don't like to talk about it. Basically, I'm the only YouTuber that does. The doors are closing in on Bitfinex and Tether, slowly but surely, and a full-on collapse of the exchange and stablecoin would be devastating right now. But these things take time. They move slower than a snail's pace, with all the appeals and more, which is going on right now if you didn't know. Back in late September, Bitfinex, the parent company of both entities, won a stay in appellate court, which halts further legal proceedings and meaning they didn't have to turn over any documents. And as we can see from the document from the appellate court, their motion would be granted on the condition that the appeal is perfected on or before November 4th, 2019 for the January 2020 term. This means that Bitfinex and the New York AG has to file their arguments by November 4th, and the appellate court will either uphold Judge Cohen's order of turning over documents or it won't early next year. So as of right now, the arguments are filed. We are just waiting for the court hearing early next year. This is the bullish section though. Why would a loss in appellate court and documents being turned over be bullish? Well, each time the doors start to close in on Tether, they pump the market. I mean, it's really obvious to see in the charts. BTC basically at a standstill. And then on April 25th, New York AG office announced their investigation for fraud. At the time, Bitfinex, Bitfinex, nor the Tether cartel had any idea what was going on. And as we can see from the announcement, the New York AG barred operators of Bitfinex from further draining the cash reserves of Tether or taking personal distributions or dividends from the reserves. It kind of seemed like operations would be halted, and the markets tanked, as you can see the dip right when the news dropped, April 25th. But by May 1st, the rocket took off like crazy off. I wonder why. Well, it was cleared up by the New York AG as they crafted a narrow injunction to preserve the status quo. Further down in the article, this case has not prevented Bitfinex and Tether from continuing to operate their business in the normal course, as they have continued since the injunction. And this article from Cointelegraph tells us more about what the New York AG is after. However, the OAG is looking to obtain an injunction that will compel Bitfinex and Tether to continue their operations to ensure the stability of the crypto markets and protect its customers. Bitfinex and Tether are going to be able to continue their operations until at least early next year. And even if they are manipulating the market, this is a bullish sign. But what about the bearish scenario, like going back to 8K or even 6K like Angelo predicted? Well, Tether has been able to operate, and the markets got pushed to 14K, but operations continued, and it declined, nearly 50% at the recent low of 7,500. And here's the thing, weird stuff is playing out chart-wise, relating to Angelo's tweets. So his first spot-on tweet was dropped on August 28th. It took down the markets, as he was the #1 trader on BitMEX, but within a week, the markets defied him, and the pump began, eventually adding $1,100 by September 6th, 10 days later, this peak. Now let's pull up the chart when he tweeted his 6K call when BTC was around 8K. This came on October 15th. Not as much damage, and this time within 10 days, the markets defied him, pumping it $2,500 to its peak. Both took 10 days to reach the peak. Now looking at the chart, we are a total of 23 days since his tweet, and consolidating down. And now, looking at the chart after his August tweet, 23 days after, a consolidation. And then if we extend that out, 2 weeks later, on the 24th, dump, just as predicted. All I'm saying, things are playing out suspiciously like before, and I wouldn't 100% rule out that 6K mark. And finally, you just have to look at another manipulator, the futures markets, and longs are controlling nearly 65% of the trades, while shorts only make up 35%. All major exchanges are going net long, especially Bitfinex, and mass liquidations are oh so profitable for these exchanges. The long squeeze coming soon? I wouldn't doubt it for a second. Cheers. I'll see you next time.